It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well. I try to read and respond to everyone at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Apologize for not being here yesterday. We were preempted for a Niners game, and the timing kind of worked out for me. I think there's only like 2 or 3 shows a year where there's Thursday night or Monday night football at 5 o'clock, so I'm not going to be able to do a 5 o'clock show. And yesterday just happened to fall on October 10th, and October 10th is my anniversary. So that worked out great. It is Friday. It is happy hour. And on happy hour, we talk about food. We talk about drinks. We talk about travel, adventure, the good life. It's time to enjoy ourselves and relax because the weekend is here. We don't have to worry about all that stressful news. We don't have to worry about the election for 3 days. We can have some fun. We can enjoy how great it is to live here in Southern California. And I want to do something special tonight in honor of the fact that I just had my 4th wedding anniversary. So we're going to play a little game, and I need you to participate at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. I like celebrating successful marriages. I like celebrating, people that are happy and in love and enjoying their lives together. And I want to know what you did for your anniversary this year. Did you cook a meal together? Did you go out somewhere that means a lot to you? Did you go out and travel somewhere? How did you celebrate your anniversary this year? What anniversary was it? Let's give a little love to some successful marriages here. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. That's all I want to know is how did you celebrate your anniversary with your loved one this year? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Whenever it's a special occasion in our house, it's usually marked by a steak night. We don't have steak all the time, but for special occasions, really, is there anything more special? And pretty much ever since I started dating my wife, who I have been married to for 4 years as of yesterday, I've known her for 11 years. Whenever it's steak night, it is a real special night. Now, our favorite cut of steak is the flat iron. The flat iron you don't see everywhere, but it's a leaner cut, it's a smaller cut, and it's something you can cook on the cast iron in 6 to 8 minutes, and it does such a good job. Now, we get our flat iron steaks from a company called Snake River Farms. I think they're out in Idaho, and they do American Wagyu. So if you don't know what Wagyu is, there is a whole bunch of different grades of marbling by the USDA. It used to just be that there was USDA Choice, which is a little more marbling, and USDA Prime. That used to be the maximum amount of marbling. But in Japan, they started going above that. And so they created something that's above prime, and it's called Wagyu. And what do you know? Snake River Farms, they do their own Wagyu. So this is a flat iron steak that has even more fat marbling than a regular steak. Now, we do ours on a cast iron. We love the cast iron. We have a Lodge. And this is how my wife has been doing the steak since I knew her. Might be part of the reason that I decided this is the person for me. You go real high heat and get a high heat oil. That's very important. And the number one mistake people can make while cooking is make sure you have high heat oil. Avocado oil is my favorite. Also, if you see olive oil at the store and it says cooking olive oil or light tasting olive oil, that is a higher smoke point because you want that pan super hot before you put the oil on. And then you want to throw it on after, if you want to season the steak with, we just go heavy salt and pepper and the oil. And then you throw it on, sear it 1 minute on each side. If it's a smaller cut, you can do 6 minutes. A little larger cut, if you want it a little rarer, you can do 6 minutes. But you can go all the way up to 8 minutes, depending on how done you like your steak. And then When you get to like 3 minutes in, my wife starts putting in a couple of pats of butter, really butter flavor that steak. Start you taking a spoon and basting the steaks, put some smashed garlic cloves in there. And then after 6 to 8 minutes, she takes the steaks off. We put them on a resting plate, and she'll take a whole thing of thyme, put that in the oil butter, let that crackle, and then put that over the top. Let the steaks rest for 10 minutes. Now, what goes with steak? Oh, I'll tell you what goes with steak. I mean, you have to, right? Especially because you've got all those drippings, all that meat juice, all that gravy. You're going to need some mashed potatoes. And mashed potatoes they can be really easy. They can be real complicated, but I like either red or gold. We did gold this time. Boil them up till they are falling apart. You pierce them easy with a fork. Strain it out. Get your masher, get your butter, get your cream, and get your salt, pepper, and garlic, and just keep taste testing it until it's right. And the thing with mashed potatoes is we can make that well ahead of time, and we can have that ready to go. So as soon as the steak's resting, we just pop it back in the oven for 10 minutes to heat it up. And then you got to have a green. There's got to be something healthy on the plate. And I don't know, especially because it's a meal that's going to use a fork and knife. Green beans were always the thing that we like to do. And green beans are so easy, especially that package of haricots verts. I don't know how you pronounce it. Haricots verts, the French green beans. You can get the package at Trader Joe's for like $2. That you just put on a sheet pan with parchment, 350 for 10 minutes with oil, salt, and pepper. It's that easy. You can see the picture of this meal, by the way, at Randy Wang Radio on Instagram. That's Randy Wang Radio. I take pictures of all my meals, but you can see our special celebration. But of course, in our house, food is only part of it. Just having a steak night is great. But part of the reason that steak night is so special is because steak night means that we're going to open some of the nicer wines that we've been saving. We have a lot of wines that we've been aging for years, and we opened a couple of real nice ones last night. One of them we just got recently. We've been aware of Wrath out in Monterey County for a while. You can see them. They have one or two bottles that they sell regularly at like Total Wine and more, and I've seen them all over the place. But they have a tasting room in Carmel by the Sea. And we became obsessed with Carmel by the Sea this year. We went for 4th of July, and we loved it so much that we decided to go back for the Labor Day weekend. And when we went Labor Day weekend, we went to the Wrath tasting room, and I think we tried about 10 wines, and in that whole time, the people working the tasting room and everyone else was giving our dog so much attention and love because it's Carmel, and that's what happens. Could have stayed there forever. And they're mostly known for their Pinot Noir, but they also do great Chardonnay, but they also had a really nice Syrah. And Syrah is a perfect wine for steak. So I remembered that we had that. I'll look around at what we have, what we've been aging, try to go for what's the oldest, what needs to get used, because the biggest sin that we can commit as wine people is forgetting about a bottle until it's way past its prime. Doesn't happen often. It happens with the cheap stuff. It's no big deal, but you don't want to be aging something really nice for a long time. And this is like a $50 bottle, but it's a good steak wine. So that was bottle number one, celebrating our love of Carmel this year. And Carmel has some really great wineries all in that walkable area. I love that town. My whole goal in life now has been to make enough money to be able to buy a house up there, because it ain't cheap, but I love that place. The other bottle was the Cab, and that's the thing. Steak is great with Syrah. I think I like steak even better with a really nice Cabernet. And Cabernet, we have quite a few that we bought 3 years ago on our first trip to Northern California wine country, going to Sonoma, going to Napa. This was a different 4th of July trip. We had gone to the Russian River, and we stayed in this little town called Forestville. And we did some wine tasting. We did some tubing on the Russian River, which isn't nearly as much of a thing as it is in Texas, but you can do it. People do it. There's very little infrastructure. And one thing that we found out is there's very little cell reception. So even though there's one guy and his mom that have an Instagram account, and you can call them, they're called R2T2 Taxi, and they'll pick you up at a place that you tube to. Good luck actually being able to get the reception to make that happen. Usually what people do is you go up with two cars and you park one at the put out point, park one at the put in point, and then you go have some fun. But that was a really good time. One of the days that we were up there, this is summer of 2021, we went up to Napa. It's the first time I've ever been to Napa. And the first place we went to was Chateau Montelena because you have to, right? Judgment of Paris. It was very expensive. I was not used to the tastings are $50 a person. And so you better buy something because you don't want to waste yourself. You want to make sure you get those waived. And we bought a bottle there and it was good, but it was definitely overpriced. It's definitely Disneyfied. And we moved on and we tried two other places. One was Gurgitch Hills, and Gurgitch, the winemaker just passed away this year. He actually was the winemaker that created that Chateau Montelena. He sold a Judgment of Paris style Chardonnay, and we actually have one of those bottles. We saved it. It was as old as he is as it was expensive. So we bought it when it was $98. We had that last year for something. It was really good. But the third place that we went to was Freemark Abbey. And Freemark Abbey, you can usually see some of their baser Cabernets at like a Gelson's or a Total Wine & More. But everything we tasted was incredible. And we were able to buy some really nice 2017, 2018 cabs. And the deal was, we're not touching these. And we haven't. For over 3 years, we have not touched them. That's been the best thing. So we put them away in the wine cellar and waiting for very special occasions. The goal is for at least most of them, wait until they're 10 years old, because that can really be the sweet spot for a nice cab. But I pulled out a 2017 Oakville Freemark Abbey cab. We open it up early. The most important things, especially with big, heavy red wines, pull them out of the fridge early, let them come to temperature, open them up, let them get some oxygen in there. And even after taste testing the Cabernet, my wife decided we need to decant that. So pull out the beaker like I'm in a chemistry lab and fill that up with the wine, and it was perfect. It was delightful. Both of them paired differently, but very nicely with the steak, and it was a winner. But you still got to do a little more than that. It can't just be steak and wine, because this is an anniversary. This is a celebration of marriage and love and everything else. So I knew that I wanted to get just a little treat. Usually if we have dessert at the house, it's berries. Sometimes it's those Trader Joe's gluten-free cookies. Those are addictive. I've warned you. They're really good, though. Really good. But I thought we need to do something a little more special. This Valentine's Day, I discovered a gluten-free bakery on the West Side that I think is really cool. It's on Washington and Lincoln in Venice. And it's called Saints and Sinners Bakery. And Saints and Sinners is great. Why is it called that? Because all of the bakery items that are Saints that have the white label, those are gluten-free. A lot of them are also dairy-free, and some of them are vegan. The Sinners are not gluten-free, and they're very, very, very rich and chocolatey. So you know exactly what you're getting. They have a whole bunch of gluten-free stuff, but they also have a whole bunch of not gluten-free stuff. So I went there when I was looking up places, because my wife's favorite dessert is key lime pie. This is back in February, and they had it. And they also had some other cheesecakes, and I got a whole bunch of other bites to try. So I thought, I should do that again. So I come up with the dumbest excuse in the world to leave for work early. I didn't even say I'm going to work early. I think I'm walking out the door. I'm like, I have to go take care of some things at work. And my wife knew it instantly that I was full of crap, but I think she knew what I was about to do. So instead of going straight to Culver City, I fight through the West Side traffic to get to this place at 10:30, right before I have to be at the radio station. And they didn't have the key lime pie. But that's okay, because what they did have was pretty incredible. They had two different cheesecakes, and they both looked incredible. One of them was a blackberry goat cheese cheesecake, and the other one, which was the hands-down winner. They were both great, but maybe it's just because of the season. They had a pumpkin cheesecake with cranberry sauce. There was like this hardened cranberry sauce on the top and some pepitas to really dress it. That thing was incredible. They were both very good with the wine as well. Typically, cab's good with like chocolate, but pumpkin cheesecake. Maybe it's because it's October, and it was so good. We're thinking, okay, how do we recreate that for Thanksgiving with the family in Santa Fe? So that might be the thing to do. And the geeks we are, we ate our steak, enjoyed our wine, had our cheesecakes while watching the new season of Lord of the Rings on Amazon Prime. And that was a pretty fantastic anniversary. Now, it's not all we're doing. We're going to do a little more celebrating this weekend, and I'll tell you about it when we come back. But I told you what I did for my anniversary. I'd like to do a little celebrating here. Maybe you want to do a little celebrating here. You celebrated your anniversary this year. What did you do? Did you have a nice meal? Did you go out somewhere? Did you travel? Do you cook? What do you do? Tell me how you celebrated your anniversary this year with your partner. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's as simple as that. I told you mine. I want you to tell me yours. How did you celebrate your anniversary this year? 800-222-KABC. Did you go to a favorite restaurant? What is your favorite restaurant? I want to hear all about it. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. You can email me as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. But get on the line right now. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's Friday. It's happy hour. Yesterday was my 4th wedding anniversary, and I want to hear what you did for your anniversary. We had a lovely steak night. We drank some great wine, had some incredible pumpkin cheesecake. What did you do for your anniversary this year? Did you go somewhere special? Did you cook a nice meal? Didn't have to be a big deal, but it is just a big deal. So, it's a day where you get to celebrate your happiness, your love. How awesome is that? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. That's all I want to hear from you is how did you celebrate your anniversary this year? Which anniversary you celebrated? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Now, since the anniversary was on a weekday, we also had something a little special planned coming up this weekend. This is great. I happen to be looking. I always look around just to see what's going on in town. My wife and I are big theater fans. We like to see shows. Seen a ton of stuff together at the Pantages. And one of my wife's favorite shows, partially because she was in a production of it in high school, is Little Shop of Horrors. And back in July, we had found out, and this is the most random thing ever, I have a lovely little old lady who lives next door, and they're the quietest neighbors, except they occasionally knock on our door because they have this massive garden and they like to give us produce. Beautiful zucchinis, cucumbers, tomatoes, everything. It's the nicest thing in the world. So one day she knocks on our door and she wants to give us some tomatoes. And she mentions, oh, we're going out of town. We're going up to Solvang. And my wife and I are like, wait, you go to Solvang? We go to Solvang all the time. And they don't seem like, winos like we are. She's like, yeah, we're going up for the theater up there. They're doing a production of Little Shop of Horrors. And I was like, Little Shop? Oh, that's amazing. So this was right around 4th of July weekend. And we look it up. And the last performance that they're doing for this show is on the Saturday after the 4th of July. And we're like, well, that might work great for us because that week we had driven up to San Francisco. I did the show from KSFO for 3 days. Then we drove down to Carmel by the Sea. By the way, pro tip, if you have dogs, you should spend 4th of July in Carmel. Trust me. Not a firework. It's amazing. And then the plan was stay there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, leave Saturday and drive down. And we were just going to drive straight home. But then we thought, why don't we stay one night in Solvang? Usually we stay at the Hampton Inn in Buellton, central to kind of everything. We'll have a nice dinner. We'll go to the Hitching Post. And then we'll go see Little Shop at the Solvang Theater. That was going to be so much fun. Well, as we were driving down, I started seeing all these alerts on my phone of these massive wildfires that were starting north of Los Olivos in wine country. And there were reports of ash getting in the pool at the hotel we were going to stay, and the air quality and evacuations. And we decided, I don't know if this thing's happening or not, but this doesn't sound like a good idea at all. It's an outdoor theater, and I don't want to have, I don't want to get sick from inhaling all the smoke just to see a show. So we ended up eating the money for the tickets, but we did get our money back for the hotel, and we just drove straight home. And it was like, we missed out. No Little Shop. So I happened to look up, when's Little Shop playing again? Well, that same company is doing a tour around some smaller theaters in California. And right now, they're in the middle of a production in Thousand Oaks at the Bank of America Performing Arts Center. So we're going tomorrow night. I'm very excited about that. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. I'm a little giddy today because I celebrated my 4th wedding anniversary yesterday. If you'd like to get along and share in the love, tell me about what you did for your anniversary this year. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking the phone calls at 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. Drew writes in and says, for our anniversary, we went to the Polo Lounge. Greatest souffle ever. Happy anniversary to you. Thank you so much. So yeah, yesterday I didn't get to do the show because we were preempted for football, and it happened to work out great because yesterday was my 4th wedding anniversary. So we had a lovely steak and wine night, some great pumpkin cheesecake. It was a ton of fun. I'd love to hear from you, and if you want to do a little shout out for you and your beloved, what you did for your anniversary. Did you go somewhere nice? Did you go to a nice restaurant? Did you cook a nice meal? Did you go to a show? Tell me all about it. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Now, if you do the math, it's 2024. It's my 4th wedding anniversary. 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020. I'm one of those people that got married in the middle of a pandemic. We honestly, my wife and I have been together since the end of 2013, and we got engaged in December of 2019 in wine country. We were staying in Los Alamos, and boy, was I nervous, but she said yes. And so we start slowly planning our wedding. There's a little bit of a dread aspect to it because we never really wanted to do a big to-do and a big wedding and all that. We, by the time you got to as old as we are, we've been to so many of our friends' weddings. We've been to so many relatives' weddings. We've seen so many of that we were like, I'd rather all that money go towards, a house. And so, but we're going through the motions, and we end up going to a winery that we love, Foley, in the Santa Ynez Valley, and we're checking out their venue. This is February of 2020. Well, that didn't work out. Luckily we did not put a deposit down or anything. We still weren't sure what we were going to do. But March hits and the whole world shuts down. Oh, and this is true. Gosh, it's amazing what was going on at the time. I distinctly remember in the second week of the lockdowns, my wife and I had tickets. There were two things. One, we had tickets to Hamilton in April, and of course that was going to totally happen. We were still going to be able to go to that. We also were like, okay, well, everything's going to be shut down for 15 days. So we were thinking about booking flights to go see our friends in Denver in late April. Well, what do you know? None of that happened. I'm going to tell you what we ended up actually doing in the middle of a pandemic, because it was really special for us. But I also want to hear about your anniversaries. 800-222-KABC. You celebrate every year. I want to know what you did to make it special. 800-222-5222. Let's start with Ann in Mission Viejo. Ann, hello.
Hey there. I have to say I'm divorced now after 25 years. But when we did have great years, we would often go to the Captain Jackson Sunset Beach, which is kind of like an old-fashioned red leather booth, kind of dark atmosphere with the most amazing crab legs.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing food. And they've been there since 1965. And they're just an amazing place. So you need to check that out.
I really do. That looks like so much fun. Well, Ann, thanks so much for bringing up the suggestion.
No problem. Thanks. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. Somebody just commented on my Instagram, where do get steak? Because the thing about social media is none of us can pronounce things with correct grammar, myself included. I'm going to do at Snake River Farms. Love them. There you go. Janie, that's where they go. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd love to tell me what you did to celebrate your anniversary this year, where you like to celebrate your anniversary, what you like to do you like to cook something special? Give me a call, 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. You can email us as well at randykabc@gmail.com. We'll do your calls, we'll do your emails, and I'll finish my wedding story. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you can always do so. I try to read and respond to every single one at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com, which I keep forgetting to do this, but occasionally I got to check the Johnny Don't Like Show email as well during the show, because even though I say Randy KABC, some people are just so predisposed to email the Johnny Don't Like Show email. And if I don't have it up, someone will email something about the show, and then I'll be like, oh, I didn't see this because you sent it to the other address. But randykabc@gmail.com. Carrie writes in and says that Fred Cavali Theater is a great venue. I saw John Anderson, ex-Yes singer, there last August. Just a block up from there is a great Peruvian place called Mouthful, where I gorged on a delicious fishbowl before the show. Wow, that sounds amazing. Mouthful Eatery. Ooh, that looks real good. I got to check that out. I want to try a Peruvian fishbowl. I don't know if I've ever been to a Peruvian restaurant, and this is going to be a topic for a later show. I have it on my massive list of happy hour topics, but I really love Spanish food. We're thinking about going to Spain next year. There is a Spanish restaurant I love in Santa Fe. There's a Spanish restaurant that I love that my wife turned me on to in Dallas. I've never been to a Spanish restaurant in Southern California. So we'll do that as a whole show one day. When we come back, I'm going to tell you the actual story, how I got married in the middle of a pandemic. 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. If you'd like to email us, you can do so at randykabc@gmail.com. Tom writes in and says, hey, I minored in French at university, and it's actually pronounced haricot vert. The H, the T, and the S's are silent. Thank you. That's how you pronounce those fancy French green beans in Trader Joe's, which are the easiest side dish ever because you just plop them on a sheet pan, 10 minutes at 350, gets them nice and crunchy. Now, if I have the time and I have the energy, I like to parboil them and then saute them. That is a way better job, but sometimes you're doing so many other things at once. Put them in the oven, 10 minutes at 350, they're good to go. So I was telling everyone how I got married in the middle of COVID. It's my 4th wedding anniversary yesterday, which means I got married October 10th, 2020. And yes, 10/10/2020. My wife loved that. She says, I could remember that day. So pandemic happens. We were already engaged, thinking about planning a wedding. March, April, May, June, July. This thing's not ending. Ferrer's just taking over our lives. And we're getting to about August, and we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know how we're ever going to plan this thing. So it's just on hold. But like, we have a life that we want to start. You know, we were in the process of possibly buying the house we were living in. We were ready to, I was ready to, at the time, before SAG-AFTRA screwed everyone over with the spouses on the health insurance, I was ready to put my wife on my health insurance. Of course, now she has better insurance than I do. But we were ready to get a move on and get our lives going. So one day I'm sitting at the radio station doing the show because I was one of, and Wayman will know this, the core four, the people who actually went to work throughout the entire pandemic. And my wife texts me, hey, I have a crazy idea. And I text her back, is it to drive to Santa Fe and get married there? So I'm sure you've heard me mention my wife's family has a house in Santa Fe. We go there 4 or 5 times a year. Usually we fly. We fly Burbank to Albuquerque, drive Albuquerque to Santa Fe. But my wife, who is incredible at planning things, came up with the COVID wedding. Now, she works in television production, so she's used to putting on big things and scheduling and getting people at the right place at the right time. So she figured out if we could get everyone to test and drive, most of her family's from Dallas, we're from LA, we could all meet centrally in Santa Fe. It is a 13-hour drive. And we spent most of that drive listening to Harry Potter books. And she had a list of gas stations that she knew would be clean and could be nice, where we could wash our hands. We were trying to be as careful as possible. We didn't want anybody getting COVID. I mean, this is when we were all still scared to death of COVID, and it worked out. It was successful. We got everybody there. We were able to okay, I think we could all take the masks off. We can hug each other. We stayed in the house for a few days and the planning was pretty light because we were going to get married in the yard of the house, which is, the portal out there. It's just gorgeous. It's perfect. Couldn't have imagined a better place. We found cupcakes that we could get because we were only going to have 8 people, including my wife and I, at this wedding. So it was me and my wife, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. And we got cupcakes from a place that did gluten-free cupcakes. They were incredible. In fact, we realized when we were there this summer that we still had one in the freezer. It's probably not good anymore. It's been 4 years, but it's a nice memento. And we get takeout from The Shed, which is the legendary Santa Fe-style restaurant in Santa Fe. And we hired one person to be a photographer. It was the only person there who wasn't us. And we made sure she kept a distance and everything. We took a lot of great photos. And my brother-in-law played guitar, and that was what we, walked down the aisle to. My sister-in-law, she was the officiant, and the other two were the best man and the maid of honor, and we did it right there in the backyard, and it was great. Now, what about a reception? Well, this is what's great. One of the things that was keeping us going through the monotony and the isolation that is COVID was we, like most people, were doing a lot of Zoom hangouts with friends and family, and we would play Jackbox games and little games you could play online with people. Well, my wife discovered that this trivia company that we're big fans of started doing online Zoom trivia or online trivia on Twitch. So every Wednesday, you could tune in and you could play a trivia game. And we loved going to bar trivia. And let me tell you, we started doing that in the middle of the pandemic. This guy branched out, does his own thing. I'll give him a plug here. The Trivia Galaxy. His name is David Gallick. He's an amazing guy. He does online trivia for free. You donate if you feel like playing along. And he does it every Wednesday at 7, thetriviagalaxy.com. We hired him to put on a Zoom reception for us where we had friends and family from both sides. We probably invited 4 or 5 dozen people because it's online, and everyone played a trivia game at our wedding reception online. We're sitting there. She's got her wedding dress. I've got my suit on, but we're doing it all on a camera. And it was really fun. It was a really good time. It was very special for us. I liked that it was that kind of small thing. I liked how intimate it was. And, it's the one really good memory of the pandemic. So yeah, got married in the backyard of my in-laws' house in Santa Fe. There were 8 of us and a photographer, and had a Zoom trivia wedding reception. How fun was that? It was a really, really, really good time. Then everyone drove back, and when did that thing end? But, we ended up doing it the right way. We thought this worked out perfect for us. We got the small wedding that we always wanted to do, that we never thought we'd get to do, but kind of worked out great for that. So here we are 4 years later, and we'll keep on going. Thank you all so much for being a part of this show every single day, even on days where we're up against the biggest Dodger game of the season. So happy that you joined us. If you ever miss an episode of this show, especially these Friday happy hour shows, which are so special to me. I mean, I really got my radio sea legs hosting a podcast where I talked about nothing but, my personal life and fun stuff to do around LA. And to be able to bring that to KABC every Friday, give us a little break from all of the outrage and the news and the politics. It makes me happy because there is more to life than the stuff that gets us angry on Monday through Thursday. So let's all take a step back. Let's enjoy ourselves. I have a massive list of these happy hour shows, of the ones that we've done, because at some point we'll repeat them, but the ones that we're going to do. And I keep adding to it. If you ever have a suggestion for a Friday happy hour show, maybe it's a food topic, something about travel, whatever it is, pitch it to me. Go to randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. I have done whole hours on a listener topic, and I'm happy to do that. So if you want to suggest one, that's all you got to do. randykabc@gmail.com. What do we got coming up? Oh, in 2 weeks, we're going to do Halloween candy. I got a really fun one for that. Thank you all so much. Have a great weekend. If you are going to go switch over to the Dodger game, go do that. Enjoy yourself. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday for News Blitz with Reddy Wang on KABC.